Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we've got another release from WPL on the table. It only feels like last week we had the B36-2 on the table. Anyways, let's get this bad boy open. So I do believe inside the box there may be an extra part related to the B36, which looks like there is. So this will be for a future video. I believe it is the motherboard and the two tilt servos. Anyways, it looks like it is upside down in the box, so let's just flip it over. And we've got another Suzuki Jimny back on the table. All licensed from what it appears, yeah, officially licensed by Suzuki. This is, I believe, not first gen. In the lore of Suzuki Jimnys, this is technically first generation-ish. There was one before it, which was the Hope Star, which was the original OG Jimny. Then there was this, is what everyone would class as the first gen Jimny. Then there is also this, which you would class as the second generation Jimny. And, well, WPL hasn't released the third or fourth gen, so I don't have any examples of them to put on the table. And to be honest, I don't even have like the copy of the FMS ones to put on the table. So, enough chit chat. We'll get this open and get it out the box and have a little look at it. Let's go. So, to be honest, I've got to admit, I do love the WPL box art. Past two, so I've got the C84 and the C84-1. I've actually cut the box art out and kept it on the wall. And to be honest, this is quite a nice looking bit of box art. And, well, disassembly and instructions. So, anyways, box is now open. I believe there is actually... Oh, well, that went good. I do believe there is actually a new controller with it. Which half of it appears to be... I may have to open the box the other side. Right, we've got it out the box. Kind of. I do believe there has been a couple of issues regarding the wheels and hubs on these in shipping, but mine seems to be absolutely fine. What I mean by issues, I believe a couple of them have snapped on the drive shafts. Anyways, going to put the truck to one side and talk about the new controller. I've only seen photos of this, and I'm expecting this to be a new standard now. This looks cool. Alright, it still does feel quite light, but it's got a removable base which keeps some Allen keys and a screwdriver in. I do not know if it is compatible with the original controller boards. That is something we can test, and that screwdriver does not fit. Ironically enough, I bet the screwdriver in here does fit. So it takes the standard 2 AAs like the original controller does. For a second I almost thought it was interchangeable with the steering wheel, but doesn't look like it. But it does include the WPL logo on the backside, which is kind of nice. To be honest, I thought I should have grabbed a original WPL controller just to compare the size. It's not much bigger. Well, the bottom grip definitely adds a bit more. And unlike the original one, it does stand up and will be able to be stored nicely, because to be honest, I've got so many WPLs, I've actually started just throwing these out, and I've kept about 2 or 3 because they all seem to run on the same boards. Like I said, we'll have to test out if this runs on the same boards as what this does, and I'll probably be ending up switching over to this because it kind of fits a lot more nice in the hand, and I can also just steer it with my thumb, which is kind of nice for content creating as you're trying to film and drive one-handed. The original WPL controller I could do the same, but it's not as comfortable with just a hard plastic wheel compared to the new foam wheel. Anyways, enough chit chat about the controller. Let's move on to the Jimny itself. So, it looks very, very similar to the FMS 1/6 scale Jimny. It is spring-leafed, it appears, yes. I think they are bigger spring leafs than the other Jimny, so the C74. I'm trying to just look. Yeah, no, they're definitely longer springs. And it also appears to have a hell of a lot more flex to it. Another thing is it comes with a canvas, or not canvas, but a hard plastic top. That is one thing which the FMS 1/6 scale did not come with. Okay, I just had to have a little sit down and read the instruction manuals for a second, because I just got really confused by it. Because I went to pop the bonnet to see where the battery was. There's no battery, but the on and off switch is located in here, which was nice. Pop the doors open, I'm like, alright, very nice scale interior. But where does the battery go? And I've just realised it's actually underneath the tarpaulin, and it's underneath the seats, which made me think, alright, how do you get into it to change the battery? You have to unscrew the canopy, which I believe there is quite a few screws underneath here. I believe it is, I don't think my camera's going to focus on it, but I believe it is that screw which the screwdriver is on. That looks like it's... I don't know if it's clipped onto that rear roll. Oh yeah, it is. Alright, that was a hell of a lot harder than I thought it was going to be to take that off. Anyways, with that off, from what the manual appears to show, is it is, yes, it is underneath the seat. So the seat is hinged up, which this may be a pain with for me because I've got thick ass thumbs. It does look like a decent size battery tray. And it is a 500 mAh 7.4 little lithium whatever battery. I forgot what they're called. But anyways, looking at it, it looks very, very similar to the FMS 1/6 scale. But saying that, there is a lot of difference between it and the FMS straight out the box. The FMS didn't have rear seats or folding rear seats. The front seats were fixed. Never came with a canopy, I don't believe. I don't even know if you could buy it aftermarket for it. Got the same fold down windshield. Didn't come with any doors, but it came with tube bars. To be honest, I may take these doors off and run it in the similar sense of like how the 1/6 scale is, because I think removing the hard cover continuously may break this bar. And to be honest, if it's anything like my C71-1, I run it like this. Basically a soft top with all the weight down low, just because it seems to get a better center of gravity and don't seem to actually have any rollover issues. So I may run this in the exact same manner. Anyways, with this on the table, let's just talk about the elephant in the room of the wheels. These look almost like their 155 size, which this C74-1 also run. So I've got it off, line it up, and I call that almost the exact same diameter. I want to say the WPL one is off by a couple millimeters, like in diameter size. Thickness, yes, the 155s are definitely a lot thicker, but this does make me think you could probably just get away with putting these straight on out of the box. Which I think what I will do in the next video when I decide to do all the upgrades, I think that's what I will do. Anyways, getting back onto looking underneath, it's the same 370 size motor and gearbox, which WPL is now putting in everything, which I think I'll run for just now. Another thing I've noticed different between this and the FMS one is the FMS is actually the older generation of this model, because the older generation has a single indicator light or running light. I can't remember. I should remember because we went to the Jimny museum in Japan, but the older generation only has one light on the side, and then the slightly newer one has two lights. And I've got to admit, I am loving I'm loving the suspension on this. I reckon if you get the weight right on it, I think it will bounce along very scale like. Anyways, enough chit chat. Let's get this out on the trails. Well, we're back home, kind of. I've decided to do the round up at the river. So I've got to admit, I absolutely love the scale detail on this thing. I think it's actually a lot better quality than the FMS, but I do have some downsides to it, and this season is also one of them because it likes to eat sticks. So, my first downside is, I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, the battery tray. You really can't put a scale driver in it. Well, like actually physically attach it to the seat, because the seat hits the steering wheel to access the battery. I would have rather seen it under the hood like the C84s and 34s, which also would give it better weight distribution more on the front, because I do find it does struggle a little bit to climb stuff. But then again, it could be these stock tires, because running them in the woods, I was finding as soon as the tread fills up with dirt, it basically had zero grip. Another thing, not actually related to the car but related to the controller itself. Let me just switch it off. The thing I found is if you're trailing, if you go full throttle, these wings end up digging into your finger a little bit. You may also be wondering where on earth the white plastic is. I decided to remove it because in the next video you'll see of this is I'm planning on painting it, and I wanted a controller to match. But if you decide to paint your own controller, what you need to do is remove this black plastic plate first, not just pop the white trim off, because I ended up snapping my white trim around about here and I've had to glue it back together. Anyways, moving on, I am really impressed with like the low down speed of it, and to be honest, I think this controller kind of helps, because the WPL controller doesn't, like the originals, doesn't seem to have that much throw in the potentiometer. This controller has a hell of a lot more throw, which makes it a lot easier to just give it fine amount of throttle when it needs. And of course I am now caught up on something. But it gives it a nice fine amount of control, and this is like comparing it to how it was like a couple of years ago. This is way better, a hell of a lot more scale, like in throttle control. I'm going to roll that, and to be honest, I've filmed this clip maybe 3 or 4 times now, because the first time I decided to record, I didn't fully hit the record button. So I did all the talking, did the transitions, and realised, oh, I only filmed the transitions, which is kind of fun. Some of you may be wondering, yeah, these videos are edited. I've edited out a lot of the fails and whatever, and that's the reason why I don't particularly do the talking and filming at the same time, because being dyslexic and whatever else, I get my words mixed up, and if I get my words mixed up while trying to film something, I tend to like to clip out if I mess up with words, which doesn't help with running video. So anyways, let's see if I can get it around the course, and then we're going to head home, because I don't particularly have much battery life left in this camera. But I will say the battery life on this is quite impressive if you're just trailing, I got maybe, I think it was nearly a mile in 45 minutes out of it around the common, just on the standard stock battery. Another thing, like I think I just said, there's the battery issue. Another thing I said about it is I do think it needs a bit more weight to it because it is quite light. So if you stay tuned for the next episode, we will be modifying it to high heaven. So please like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. I'll see ya.